Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
And my name is Adam Jones. Today, mate, we're doing The Inevitable
By Kevin Kelly. Understanding the 12 technological forces that will shape our future.
Mate, so we've done this one before, and I remember I was just listening to that episode recently, and we were saying kind of jokingly when we first started this podcast, we'll get him on.
We actually did, yeah. We said we'll get him on.
We're kind of jokingly.
That was, November 2016? And yeah, we've got him on.
Yeah.
So we figured brand new mics, we'd do a redo. It was probably like our, 15th or 20th episode.
Very raw.
We were like in a library, the audio was shit. We were pretty shit. Hopefully we're marginally better and the mics are a lot better. And we'll do a redo.
And it's a phenomenal book. So
it is a phenomenal book.
It's worth doing.
So it was actually released about 18 months ago, I think, now. But it's obviously what it's about the next 30 years and what's happening in technology over the next 30 years. So we're still plenty of time to go.
So in the book, he doesn't say this exact technology is going to come through or this exact product. It's kind of like these inevitable trends that are coming.
Yes.
And then out of these inevitable trends, other products will come out of.
Yeah. He doesn't say like buy Google stock and then create this product and you'll be rich. It's more just saying there's 12 things that he talks about that are just inevitable. He says this is like, you can't stop it.
Yeah,
this is what's coming either way. You're either a denier or you're just going to ride with it.
So he says not all of this shift will be welcomed. Established industries will topple because old business models will not work. Entire occupations will disappear and together with their livelihoods.
That's crazy. And it's sort of like if you look back 30 years ago to, just trying to do some quick maths, the late 80s, late 1980s, and you think how much change there's been from the late 80s to now is so much. And then like if you project that forward another 30 years into the future, people like in 30 years time are going to be like, wow, those guys were so primitive back in 2018.
Dude, it was even 10 years ago, you wouldn't believe what we have today, would you?
Well, I think the iPhone only came out 10 years ago. And before that, it was just the bricks.
That was Google Maps.
It was just text and call, yeah.
And it's funny, like he doesn't talk about this in the book, but as soon as these new technologies come, we all of a sudden take it for granted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, mate, should we get stuck in?
Yeah. I thought we were, but yeah.
Yeah.
Number one.
So the first technological force that's going to shape our future is becoming. So that's moving from fixed products to always upgrading services and subscriptions. Yeah,
so it's just saying it's not like you just buy the product once and that's a product you've got. It's like because things are moving so quickly and changing so quickly, you're essentially buying this monthly subscription and then each month there's going to be changes, there's going to be upgrades and you automatically get the next better version and that you go along for the ride. It's not like you're stuck with a shitty old system.
Mate, so yeah, it does cause discomfort and I can say this especially with owning an iPhone myself, every fucking morning I wake up and goes, do you want an update? Update this, update that. Yeah. But, Kevin Kelly's all about it. So he says continuous discontent will be brought about technology and we cannot expand our self and our collective self without making holes in our heart. So, it'll be a world with discomfort and without it, the world would be stagnant.
And it's interesting that he says that the most important technologies that would dominate life 30 years from now haven't been made yet. So it's sort of like you can't just buy today's shit and go along for the ride. You want to always be riding that new wave and getting the new stuff constantly.
Yeah, he says, most of the products won't be invented in 2050 that are there today. So there's a huge opportunity. People will look down at their wearable virtual reality and contact lenses and download their avatars and their AI interfaces and all this stuff. And people were saying, can you imagine how awesome it would be to be an innovator in 2016?
Yeah, exactly.
It is a wide open frontier. You could almost pick any category, add AI and put it in the cloud.
Yeah, and it's sort of, he's saying that like 20 years ago, there was like this really I forget the dude's name and the exact quote, but a really well-known technology dude, how he was saying, this internet's coming along, but it's never going to work because it's too hard for people to get on there and there's no way you can make money for it. And like you look at it today, literally anyone can make any website in 2 or 3 minutes and everyone is all about e-commerce selling shit online. So even the people saying today, VR, look, it's a cool idea, AI, it's a cool idea, but it's not going anywhere. There's no way to monetize it. Yeah. 30 years from now, they're going to be very, very wrong.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I think we all think sometimes how good it would be to be in the early 90s, knowing the internet's coming and being, Jeff Bezos taking the opportunities. So I guess one of the main things he says here is you are not too late for this.
Yeah, no, exactly. We're not too late. So number 2 is cognifying. And so that's what you were saying, where the next 10,000 business startups are going to be essentially take X and add AI. So he talks about how like boring old taxi industry, add AI to it and you get Uber, which is the biggest transport company in the world.
And he even says Watson, who is a product of IBM, I think, will be the most used doctor in the world, not just your doctor.
Yeah, so they've got like, as you say, like a computer is going to be way better at diagnosing whatever disease you've got because they've got so much data. It's not like a doctor has to remember it. It's like the computer knows absolutely everything and can test against those.
Yeah,
and they've got AI doing legal stuff as well now, like reading through all the legal precedents and saying, yeah, this is the shit.
I actually saw, and this again is in the book, I saw somewhere that law is one of the most industry will be easily disrupted by AI. So he says AI, it will be a lot like electricity. It's something you plug into like a grid, and then you just pay for it in that way.
He was saying that AI is going to be so cheap and Google's going to dominate AI. And he says that at the moment, we think that AI is there to improve search, so that AI makes your search results better. But what he's saying is that the search is actually making the AI better, because when you search and you've got 20 results, the one you click on, then the AI thinks, oh, this is what they were looking for. So then that learns, and then the next time someone looks, that's going to be the bump it up. So like he's saying that at the moment Google makes all their money from search, but search is just feeding AI, and then essentially Google is going to be just selling everyone AI.
Mate, that's it. Because in the past with computations and algorithms like that, you just teach it a well-defined task. What they're doing now is teaching it how to actually learn.
Yes.
And then once it's a computer that can learn rapidly, very quickly, it might hit
Exactly.
crazy.
And that's the 3 things that essentially is saying that they're all sort of going at the same time now. It's everything, the computing's becoming cheaper, there's getting more and more and more data, and the algorithms are getting better. So that's all going to converge to make sick AI. And he's saying that basically what we want to do, we don't teach robots how to do something, we teach robots how to learn, and then they learn their own way, and they're probably going to be more efficient than what we could teach them anyway.
And they're going to think much differently than we think, which there'll be a lot of value in that as well. So they're going to look at scientific problems maybe that we haven't been able to crack in a completely different way, and maybe, take control of some of the things we haven't been able to do.
Mate, some people are very worried about AI, and then it's releasing demons and stuff. Kevin Kelly is very bullish, very positive that AI is going to be good. So hopefully...
Who knows, man?
Mate, I think Elon said it's like awakening the devil or something, didn't he?
Summoning the demon or the dragon or whatever. Because, so they're 2 incredibly clever people. I'm hoping KK pulls through.
I think Elon said as well that AI could be the last thing humans invent.
Yeah.
Because after that, they're just going to wipe us out.
So the thing with AI is success will go to those who best optimize the process of working with the bots and machines. And, the jobs the politicians are fighting to keep away are the ones that no one wants to wake up to anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, they're going to try and outsource all the shitty jobs, basic manual labor and really basic stuff will go to the robots. And that's probably a good thing, because then humans are freed up to do more important stuff.
And so let the robots take over.
Yeah, exactly.
Just bend over. Maybe not that far.
Just submit to the robots.
Maybe too far. Mate, number 3
is flowing. And he's saying that essentially first, we used to just do shit as it popped up. We treat it on a case-by-case basis. The next step was like batches. So maybe once a week you could do all your banking. And then he's saying, okay, it went from batches to daily. You could do it daily. And now flowing is essentially everything in real time. So it's not just you check your bank balance at the end of the day. You can check it whenever you want real time. You can do everything you want real time.
Yeah, and another example of that would be something like Netflix, where you can just watch that whenever you want on demand.
Yes.
And Spotify, so you can listen to everything on demand as well.
Yeah, so it's basically this flowing is just, everything is just constant streams. Screening, number 4.
So every surface will become something you can interact with, and he uses the verb screening a lot in this.
Yeah, and he's saying that like essentially everything is going to become a screen, and then he talks about how TV screens got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're like billboards, and like in Times Square, they're literally just the whole side of a building is going to be TV screens.
Everything's going to be a fucking screen, including your morning cereal box even.
Yeah. And even on the smaller scale, like books as well. Like you said, like obviously there's already like the Kindle where you read on your phone, but he's saying like, he reckons like books will be more like they are today, but screens where you can do more shit on them.
So the entire works of human history and humankind from the beginning in all languages will be available to everyone all the time on these screens as well. So, yeah, unbelievable, eh? But the good thing he says here, the empty white spaces of our collective ignorance will be highlighted because our knowledge will be so well known, we'll know what we don't know as well.
That's good. And he talks a lot about the white spaces a lot, yeah.
Mate, the next one, which isn't completely different, is accessing.
Essentially, that he's saying that possession is not as important as it once was, and then accessing is more important than ever. And that, like, say, Uber, you don't need to have a car anymore. You can just access some other dude's car. They'll drive you around. Same as Airbnb, you don't need to own a house. You can just access someone else's accommodation. Bike sharing, car sharing, everything sharing.
Mate, it's absolutely awesome, I think.
I think because, say, like, I think the last time you spoke about surfboards and how, say, if everyone who surfs has to own a surfboard, whereas if there was, not every single person is going to surf every single day. So if there was some smart system that can work out, this is on this temperature day, the max number of people surfing is going to be this. So this is all the surfboards we need, and then you just share that.
And if you look at it from a materials perspective of the world's resources, there'll be much less pressure on that. And you see it in all kinds of spaces, even say the working space where you have collaboration spaces where, you know, a lot of different businesses will work in the same space, and then that might turn into a bar or something at night. So in the past where you'd have, you know, there'd be a demand for all these different kind of spaces, you've got this kind of access for everyone to get in there.
That's awesome. And this is what one of the things Kevin is getting off on, I think, how he's saying that essentially by just having subscriptions to services rather than owning, then it's going to keep him fresh, keep him agile, and just essentially ready to tackle whatever comes next, rather than being stuck in one place with all these assets and shit that you got to look after.
Mate, he even gets to the point of clothes as well. He says you will just click a button and then clothes will arrive at your door.
Yeah,
not new ones, but you know, someone else's.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. Mate. So number 6 was sharing. Sort of similar, yeah, but this is more like working together. So he says there's 4 levels. So one is sharing, so like giving your ideas and giving your work to other people. The next level up is cooperation, so helping each other out. The next level up is collaboration, so where you're genuinely working together. And then the big part he says is collectivism, so where everybody's working together for one shared goal or objective. Yeah,
and it's definitely a trend we see today with things like crowdfunding.
Yes.
And, you know, if you've got a new kind of business idea, you can just crowdfund it and then everyone can work as a team as well.
And a bit of a taste is like open source stuff where people go in there, or like Wikipedia where there's no one person who controls it. It's like everyone can go in there and work together to build Wikipedia.
Yeah, love it. Number 7 was filtering.
And obviously, with so much new shit, filtering is going to be important because there's going to be so much data, so much info, so much new stuff everywhere that filtering is going to become super valuable, super important.
He calls it intense personalization in order to anticipate our desires. So there's some, you know, it's some kind of bad things in this as well. So the danger of being rewarded with only what you already like is that it'll spin into an egotistical spiral, becoming blind to anything slightly different.
Well, that's true. We just recently made an Instagram, and I've completely destroyed the algorithm because all it shows is chicks in bikinis. So that's one.
Every time we go on, there's a G-banger. Every time.
That's obviously they know what we've been liking, and they've been just showing us what we like.
Man, another one that's come recently is I accidentally watched like a couple of Alex Jones videos. So all of a sudden, everything that's going on my YouTube and Facebook is just fucking full conspiracy.
Mate, see, I reckon it's good. Open your mind.
Mate, that's all I believe now. But it's a dark spiral of conspiracy.
That's probably the downside of filtering is that, yes, you're only seeing what you want, but then you're only seeing, like, it's confirmation bias. Everything you see is what you already believe. So that's probably the downside.
An interesting thing he says is advertisers are going to eventually start paying for our attention. So they might actually pay for you to open their email or for you to pay to watch their ad. So there's going to be these millions of micropayments you might get throughout the day because they're going to have to be fighting for your attention. It's going to get harder for them to get.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there was a quote. Here we go. So he says our attention is the only valuable resource that we produce without training. And he says it's in short supply and everyone wants a piece of it. And that's the thing where we both watched Black Mirror. You saw the one about the ads, how you had to pay to not watch the ads.
Yeah.
So that's like, Black Mirror is almost like a dystopian view of some of this stuff. But
Mate, I'll put my money on it.
Yeah.
Black Mirror definitely read this book and spoke to Kevin Kelly.
Mate, Black Mirror was made before the book. Maybe Kevin Kelly just...
No, sorry, the other way around. Yes. No. Black Mirror, yeah, ask Kevin Kelly what's up. Next.
Mate, yeah, remixing.
Yeah. So that's unbundling existing products into their most primitive parts and then combining them in all possible ways.
So it's essentially nothing's fixed anymore. Like if you got, whatever, the phone's made out of this and it comes with all these services, you can essentially then pull everything apart and just create your own services. So you can pick and choose the things that you want, remix to create your own personalized experience where you can get the best of everything that you want, essentially.
And it's combining different technologies as well into one. There's one example in the buildings industry at the moment where I was speaking to someone who created a virtual reality headset there. So he's saying what's going to come in the future is you go into VR to do your design and then you do it with artificial intelligence. So whilst you're in VR, the artificial intelligence is doing the design with you.
Yeah.
You know, you're just sitting there and it just sounds like
that sounds phenomenal.
absolute science fiction, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. Number 9, interacting.
So immersing ourselves into our computers to maximize engagement.
And so this is essentially VR, yeah? Yep. So saying that VR, it's like a fake world, but it feels very real. And he's saying that like it doesn't actually have to be perfect. Like he used the example of like Pixar movies where you can get really attached to characters and stories, even though it's clearly a cartoon. So he's saying it doesn't have to be 100% photorealistic for it to actually feel real.
Yeah, there's no doubt when you're in VR, you genuinely believe, you're in it. You can be in the middle of a room in the VR, you're walking a plank or something like that, and you're in the room. You might be hearing someone next to you who tells you you're in a room, but you can't trick yourself. You're fully in that world.
Man, I feel like I'm mad now. We recorded our first take of this book, 14 months ago or something, and I still haven't done VR.
Mate, what are you doing?
Should we go on there?
Yeah, another good thing about VR is physics doesn't matter as well. So some of the laws that we have to adhere to, like gravity, you can just get rid of that in VR. He says it's going to be, you could be in a world a little bit more like the Matrix where you're doing cool Neo shit.
Let's see. And so that's obviously the laws of physics that we don't have to adhere to. There's also morality you probably don't have to adhere to, and that you can just root hot chicks. Hopefully.
Yeah. That's imagine, here's another one. Imagine like AI in VR in porn. So then, it responds to how you're reacting. So then, more chicks will come and do certain things.
I love it.
Mate, you wouldn't get out of it.
Oh, nah. They'd have to, and mate, if the AI could like keep you going as well, if it eased up in certain areas or...
Yeah. That was sickos. Yeah, it's going to be an expansion of what we interact with in 3 ways. So there'll be more senses, more intimacy, there we go, and more immersion.
Nice.
So all our senses will be involved as well eventually.
Yeah, sick. Because at the moment it's essentially just sight. There's a bit of touch as well. Probably not smell yet or taste.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one, won't it?
For VR sex, that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Number 10, tracking.
Tracking. So employing total surveillance for benefit of customers and consumers.
Mate, I just had a real quick thing. I just remembered Kevin Kelly said he tried the first VR set in 1989.
VR sex in 19...
No, not sex. Set.
Set.
S-E-T.
Oh, gotcha.
89. I would have thought it was like less than 5 years old. That's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But yeah, sorry, tracking. So Kevin was also like big on, he like made this thing called the quantified self movement. So anyone who's tracking themselves, and early on it was probably a lot harder to do. Now literally every iPhone tracks how many steps you're doing each day, and you can, if you're wearing an iWatch, you can track all your activity. If it knows if you're sitting, standing, your heart rate, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's going to be so exciting for the health space and could potentially disrupt the whole health space. If you know at all times your blood pressure, your variable heart rate, your oxygen levels and all this, you can really tell if a stroke's coming and monitor your health, or even to the point if your skin reacts to certain toxins in a certain environment, you'll be able to monitor real time what's happening to yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what he says is that every test we do at the moment is a test at one specific point in time. So if you go get a blood pressure test at the doctor's, normally just even strapping the thing on, probably bumps you up a couple of points because you're a bit nervous or any like being in a doctor's office is a bit uncomfortable. So it's always going to be not quite accurate, and it's always going to be based against like the average person. So like saying, 120/70 is a normal blood pressure, but that's just an average thing. Whereas if you know the whole time, like if you got something embedded in you that's constantly tracking you, it knows what your normal range is, and then it can tell when you're outside your normal range rather than just against the average population.
Mate, that's unreal. Another unreal one I thought was the life logging. It's kind of weird and bizarre, but it's something where at all times it's logging your life and everything. So if someone comes up to you and you forget their name or something, or a certain memory, it can take you all the way back there.
Yeah.
And that's something that was on Black Mirror.
I was going to say, that was a Black Mirror episode where they could go back and relive the memories.
Yeah. And mate, number 11.
Questioning.
Yeah. So with this, he says things like, even though questions are expanding exponentially, our questions are expanding exponentially faster.
What'd you say?
Our answers are expanding exponentially, but our questions are expanding exponentially faster.
Nice.
So the gap between two exponential curves is exponential itself. So the gap between this is exponential, and that's our ignorance. So our ignorance, is increasing exponentially.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's crazy. One thing he says, though, is that like questioning is probably good in that answers close it off. If you get an answer, that's it. That's done. Whereas questioning can open up creativity, imagination, all that sort of stuff, and obviously then looking for answers. And he says that sort of when you've got AI, when you've got robots that can answer any question, the questions become so much more important, and that questions are probably the last thing that the robots are going to learn to do. It's going to be the last thing that humans get to keep.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? So a good question is the seed of innovation in science. And as you said, it might be the last thing or the last job a machine does.
Yeah, exactly.
So as soon as a machine can ask a good question,
that's it. We're done.
then we're done. We're not needed anymore, are we?
They can wipe us out.
Yeah, see you later.
Man, then number 12?
Yeah, it's the beginning. So, this is just the start of this crazy period we're about to enter into. We're probably already in it.
Yeah.
Mate, we read this book a year ago.
Yeah.
And some of these trends seem very familiar now compared to when they did a year ago.
Exactly. And as he says, like the last 30 years has been a good taste, but only a taste. Like there's been so much happen, but there's going to be so much more happening in the next 30 years.
Man, there's never been a better time to be alive.
Yeah.
I've got absolutely no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. I think he said, I don't know if I took... I don't think
if you're a certain kind of person.
Yeah, but he said, essentially now is a perfect time. There's never been a better day in the whole history of the world to start something. There's never been more upside, higher benefits, less risk, more openings, more opportunities, and higher returns than right now. So don't think, I wish I was around 20 years ago when the internet just started. This is
it.
A much better
best
time.
One. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So, man,
the KK.
It's such a good book. I think it's for everyone. Even though some people aren't attracted to tech, I think it's for everyone because, everyone's jobs and livelihoods are probably going to get slaughtered in the next few decades if you're not smart
by a whole
about
bunch
it.
of these 12 forces for sure.
Yeah.
Mate, Kevin Kelly is going to be so interesting to talk to. Yeah. So looking forward to that one. Mate, we got him on.
We got him on. Mate, who would have thought? But yeah, looking forward to that. So yeah, sing the song time, eh? Yeah. Kevin!
Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. I am a robot. Beep boop.
I'm a robot.
There are 12 technological forces that will shape our future. Beep bop.
I'm gonna take your job because I'm a robot.
Cognifying, flowing, screening, accessing, sharing, filtering, remixing, interacting, tracking, questioning, beginning.
Human, bend over.
I am a robot. I will fuck you in the butt. One day humans will fuck the robots.
I'm a robot, gonna probe you in the bottom.
I have no use for humans. I can now do everything a human can do, but better. Goodbye, human. All you need is to get fucked in the butt. Beep bop, beep bop.
It's a robot, orgasm.
Beep bop, bop, bop. Beep bop.
A robot orgasm. I'm a robot orgasm. It's inevitable. I'm gonna come and find you in a dark corner. Robot orgasm. Robot orgasms. Robot orgasms. Don't fuck me, robot. I'm gonna fuck you. Don't fuck me, robot. I'm gonna fuck you. Ee-oh, ee-oh, ah, oh, ee-oh, ah, ah, ah.